Hey everybody, what's up? Yep, I'm here to give you a non-spoiler review for some of you that may have not seen it yet, even though it's been out for about a month now, not a month, but for about a week. Today, this being Tuesday, where I thought I'd give you a non-spoiler review of Justice League, Gods and Monsters, which is the newest installment in the DC original animated universe, or DC animated original movie universe, or no matter how you call it, basically the DC original, the DC animated original movie universe, or DC original animated movie universe, whatever you want to call it. This is the box set that apparently I think you can get not just at Walmart, but I think you can get anywhere. This is the second one I think they've done. Of course, the first one was with Batman and Robin. So this is the second one that they've done with a figurine, collectible figurine. And of course, as you can see here, this has Wonder Woman. I'm sure the other ones may have, has this alternate version of Wonder Woman in it. I'm sure other ones might have, maybe depending on where they sell them, they might have Superman or Batman in their place. So. Anyway, I will say this about this movie. I will say this, and I think some people have already given it some positive praise, that it's definitely a different take on the Justice League. And Bruce Timm, who's known very well as one of the original writers of the Batman animated series, the Justice League animated series, Justice League Unlimited, and even Superman, really was able to, do his own thing here with this. And they do a featurette, what's called a calculated, which they entitled a featurette, a special feature, which runs for about 23 minutes. And in that featurette, which is a making of a documentary, they talk about how they basically entitled it a calculated risk, which in a sense this movie was. It was a calculated risk because we had seen, we have read and even visually seen alternate reality versions of the superheroes in the past. We've seen it with Crisis on Infinite Earths. We've seen it with several episodes of Superman, I think even Batman and Justice League. So we've seen this take many times before. Even Sonic has done this in the comics as well, with, the anti-Mobius, or Mobius, if you will. And you have characters like Evil Sonic, aka Scourge, being the opposite of Sonic, and Alicia being the opposite of Sally, and vice versa. So anyway, it was, again, a really unique take to finally see basically a story arc where it takes place in a totally alternate universe, a more darker, more mature universe. Now, what's interesting about this is it makes you wonder exactly what's really going to happen, what direction they're going to go in. How they're going to basically keep the Justice League as the Justice League. And here's what's interesting about this. Here's what's interesting about it. You only have the Trinity here. You have this alternate world's version of the Trinity. You have this, you have this this alternate universe's take on the Trinity of the Justice League, which is Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. And they have different names. They're not Clark Kent, they're not Bruce Wayne, they're not Diana Prince. No. You have one by the name of Kurt, which is Batman, or Kirk, which is Batman. And it kind of, and I'll get into this in a minute. You have Wonder Woman, whose name is Becca, and Superman, who I can't think of his name right now. I have to look it up. But it's a Mexican name. I know that. No offense, but again I have to look it up. But basically, you have him with a different name and a different origin, and that's one thing. Like I was just mentioning, that's one thing I did like about this as well. Is sporadically, when the moment calls for it, you had the origins basically shown for how each character came to be. Like right off the bat at the beginning of the movie, you get an origin of how this version of Superman came to be. Then later on, you get an origin of how this world's Batman came to be. And then later on, you find out how this world's Wonder Woman came to be. And it's really a unique take because because usually, and again, like I said, it's really a unique take because you think to yourself that even with alternate universes, that they would at least try to keep some bits of the original origin, even with the alternate universe version of that character. Like they would try to maybe keep some Greek mythology with Wonder Woman's origin, or some kind of tragedy with Batman's. And he does have a bit of tragedy, but not in the sense of the Batman we know. Or, somewhat. Well, you have an identical origin with Superman, but you would think you would at least have him, or basically, you'd have some kind of tie into the original origin somewhat with Superman as well. And again, they have that there, but not entirely, because they go in a different direction of how he comes to be. And like I said, there's tragedy with Batman's origin, but not the way we know it. And Wonder Woman's is so completely different, I don't think anybody would have expected that. So, it's a really unique take of how you have the Trinity and how they came to be. And the movie is basically a somewhat of a mystery movie in a sense, because you're trying to guess exactly what's going on here. It's like basically that something is not right. That you have basically you have the Justice League trying to clear their name throughout this film, but you don't know who's really behind this situation with the Justice League. You don't know if maybe it's someone within the league. You don't know if it's someone outside of the league. And they keep you guessing. They really do. They keep you guessing in a sense until you get to the end and you find out it's the one person maybe you would have expected or least expected. And now some might say some might say that the reasoning, maybe one of the main reasonings for this guy who is revealed as the villain at the end, one of the reasonings I should say, for the way he becomes a villain, or how he acts towards the end, is out of jealousy. Now I know some people who may have enjoyed it may go like, are you serious? That's one of the reasons he's doing this, is out of jealousy for, his wife possibly being in love with somebody else who's on the league? Okay, Superman's name is Herman Gorer. Herman Gorer. Something like that. So it's Herman Gorer. What's up? Yeah, Herman Gorer. And but like I said, that's the alter ego name of Superman in this movie. But like I said, getting back to what I was saying, the person who's revealed as the villain, some people who like the movie like I did, they may come out and say that the one thing that may have disappointed them was that part of the motivation for this villain was jealousy at the fact that his wife was possibly in love or favored and possibly smitten and in love with his best friend, who's a part of the Justice League, that being, of course, Kirk, Batman, in this version. So, again, some people, and again, I may have given away who the villain is there, but still, some people might look at that possible part of the that being part of the that possibility of being part of the motivation as like, seriously, you're doing this also out of jealousy to get back at your best friend just because your wife may have flirted with him or had a crush on him, or at least, well, maybe not that, but had concern, emotional concern for him. So, it was really, it might be a little bit like a downplay there, but basically the main purpose for the villain in this film is, something that we have seen before, but it's really, that we probably have seen before in other mediums as well, but it's something that you don't really think about when you're watching the whole film up to that point. You don't really think that that's the real reason behind his motivation. Now, what I like about this alternate take as well is you see something that you don't normally see. You see Apocalypse as the new genesis of this world, of this dimension, of this alternate universe, and the new genesis as the apocalypse-like environment of this alternate universe. Now we don't see what the new Genesis looks like. We see what Apocalypse looks like, so we pretty much know that Apocalypse is about the same. But we also know, in a sense, it's not the Apocalypse we know. Like I said, it's more like the new Genesis of the comics of the Prime universe that we know, or the Prime universe that we know, and the new Genesis, in that the new Genesis of this world is like the Apocalypse of the Prime universe that we know. Because it's a situation that deals with one of the origins of the characters. It's Wonder Woman. I'm not going to get much into detail about that. But basically, her origin, unlike the Prime Wonder Woman, the Wonder Woman that we know, the Diana character, the Becca character comes from New Genesis, this world's New Genesis. And it's, again, I'm not going to give much away about how she comes to be as Wonder Woman, but the origin, when they get to her origin in this movie, it's really, really unique. It's really something that you have to watch. And it kind of shows you how she is able to get to certain areas real quickly, because she has a weapon. We know with the original Wonder Woman that Wonder Woman has a sword and all that, but this sword that this Wonder Woman has allows her to teleport via boom tube. So again, I don't want to give much away, but it's basically you really kind of get sucked in a little bit, and you really get intrigued of how not only she obtains this sword, but what her origin is on basically you get really intrigued of how she plays a part in this whole thing with New Genesis and Apocalypse of this universe, of this dimension, when it reveals her origins. But again, this is definitely a movie you have to watch. Again, I'm not trying to give much away. It's just really, really good. You could tell, in a sense, right off the bat, that this Justice League is not the Justice League you know, because the first fight you see them in, they basically massacre everybody. They massacre all the terrorists, all the, I guess you could say, minor supervillains, whatever they are there. They basically kill them. I mean, there's one scene at during this fight where this world's Superman pushes down the wall, pushes down an iron door on top of the guys, and next thing you see is nothing but blood coming out of the bottom of that door. and it's like, wow, it's like, this is definitely not the Justice League you know. So it's really not a unique take on the Justice League. More importantly, the Trinity of the Justice League is really a unique take. You do get other characters from various other franchises. Like you get Victor Freeze, you get their take on him. You get Ray Palmer's. You get the Ray Palmer of this world in there as well, but they're only there to be, for a short period. But they're not superheroes. That's the one thing. They're not superheroes in this movie. They're just there for a reason. And again, I'm not going to give much away. Now, there are certain elements that will be a little surprising as well. We all remember. We all remember when Superman came out. Superman Doomsday came out back in 2007. We all remember how there was a scene where basically a young girl, basically the body of a young girl out of an orphanage or something. I think it was an orphanage or something, was covered and carried off. How that was a shocking scene because we had never seen that in any kind of DC animated medium ever until that time. So there's a scene in the movie where you probably know by now just by reading some of the synopsis and all that several scientists die in this film. Now again, I'm not going to name who if you haven't read the synopsis or even paid attention to the trailers or whatever, but you probably have an idea of who they might be. And again, I mentioned 2 names, so that might give you a clue who some of the scientists are. But anyway, getting back to the point, there's a scene in the movie where one of the scientists is basically killed, fried to death, along with his son. His son basically comes and tries to help save him, but they both end up getting fried by this mysterious enemy. And again, I'm not going to give much away. And the next thing you see in the next scene, as this version Superman surveys the damage, is you see nothing more than the charred skeletal remains of that scientist and his son, holding each other. So, that is one thing that I will give Warner Brothers, I will give Bruce Timm, I will give the DC animated staff, I will give them credit. That the one thing they do with this animated universe is they go and do things that they've never done before, that they couldn't do with the animated series. They couldn't do with Batman that much, or even Superman that much, or even the Justice League shows. They couldn't do it. Here they can, which is really amazing. But anyway, that's really some of the more unique things you got to look out for in this movie once you watch it. Another unique thing about this movie as well is it introduces, and it's not the first time in animated medium, I'm pretty sure, but it introduces, I believe, for the first time in the DC original animated movie universe, it introduces the Metal Men into the animated cinematic universe, or the animated original movies, I should say. It introduces the Metal Men. Now, I don't know if they got introduced in other movies before. I have to check that out down the line. But here they get introduced, and the way they're introduced is really unique. And it's really a unique, it's really interesting. It's really unique because when you watch the movie, you have no idea that what's killing these scientists, are more than what they seem, are actually metal men. So I'll give you that little bit of a spoiler there, but are actually metal men. So, but again, overall, it's definitely a good film. It's definitely one you have to watch because it is a unique take on the Justice League. There is no doubt about it. It's a unique take.